Behold, the kingdom of God is within you. That is a powerful statement, isn't it? And I love how music opens our hearts a little bit more, moves away those limiting beliefs a little bit more aside with ease. It's not quite the spiritual 2x4 that we get sometimes, you know. You are God made manifest. Anybody ever experienced the spiritual 2x4? Right? You know what I'm talking about. Now, how much nicer is it for music to open our hearts? I'm a big yes for that. I'm a big, big yes for that. So we are continuing on our journey to discover and talk about and explore really the principles of our amazing teaching, the science of mind. This teaching that has been around for almost 100, well, has been around for more than 100 years, and that Dr. Ernest Holmes brought forth. And I love this time, and I love our guest speakers that we had in January. Wasn't this amazing? Reverend Karin Russo starting us off, and then Reverend Michelle last week. And I love, love, love that we hear from different perspectives how these fundamental principles have informed and changed their lives. And we're going to continue to do that today, as I am going to speak on unity, on the idea that we are really spiritual beings having a human experience, that within us is the divine. And for some miracle, we find ourselves here on planet Earth, engaged in this activity of remembering that we really are spiritual principles. Not spiritual principles, spiritual beings. That was a test. I was trying to see who's listening. We are spiritual beings, and our work is to remember the spiritual principles. There you go. There you go. So, there's a story about the master teacher Jesus. I think it's in Mark 1. And he was traveling with his disciples, and the Sabbath came, and he went into a synagogue, and he was teaching, right? He was reading from the Torah, and he was teaching because the regular rabbi who was in that synagogue wasn't there that Sunday, that Sabbath. And so the crowd was haggling him. Can you imagine that? Just for a moment. Imagine you would be haggling me right now. Scary thought. But what was happening, they were saying, who are you to teach this what you are teaching us from a place of authority and not just as a scribe? And in the crowd was one who has been said to be of an unclear mind. And so I thought to myself, what would that be in today's terms? How could I relate to that? And what came up for me is like somebody who's in the midst of their stuff, in the midst of crisis, in the midst of perhaps a crisis of faith, a relationship crisis, money, whatever, right? Because when we find ourselves deep in the midst of those experiences, are we of clear mind? Are we our pleasant selves? I know I'm not. Right? So, and then the story goes on that Jesus ignored the people who were haggling him and were saying, who are you? And he said to the person who was in crisis, come forth. That is not the truth of who you are. And I am paraphrasing here. That is not the truth of who you are. And so this person did just that, left the crisis behind, the drama, whatever he was experiencing, and the crowd then went, wow, who is this person that is teaching us with authority? Spiritual authority. And that, beloveds, is what we're going to talk about today. This is a wonderful teaching. We have ministers and practitioners who have studied this, who are able to articulate it to people who have not heard about it or who are new to it. And that is not where the transformation takes place. You know when the transformation takes place? When we are able to take it in, when we are not cynical, when we are not questioning what that person is saying, but when we are finding that place within us where we can say, oh, this is me. I am that they're talking about. Behold, the kingdom of God is in you. That moment when we have the, yes, I feel it, I know it. Now the language is a little different, right? We all have our things about different words. We interpret them differently. I do for sure, because it's my second language, so I'm pretty sure it means something different to me. So I took that beautiful line and I translated it to how it makes sense for me. And it is, behold, and I believe we have a slide for that, the essence of the divine is within me. Behold, the essence of the divine is within me. Now, if you find yourself in a moment on your life's journey where you are like, life is good, I invite you to say that with me. Behold, the essence of the divine is in me. And if we find ourselves in a place where we are at the center of a crisis, if something is going on in our lives that doesn't allow us in the moment to say that and feel it, it is really good to lean into another, to borrow the faith that another has. Have you ever had that experience? I cannot believe this for myself right now, but man, I can see you are believing it. And so I choose to lean into your belief. I'm teaching the foundations class right now, and I love teaching our foundational class. It's so powerful. And in this class, we are reading the book, this thing called You. And what's different is we're reading it in the first person. So Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote it in the you, right? You, the kingdom of God is within you. You are the one that, he says beautiful things. And so we are practicing to say, I. And if you have not done that, I invite you to take a spiritual text that has you in it and allow yourself to read it in the I form and see what it does. Every class, every time we do that, there are individuals who say it made a huge difference. Why? Because we are willing to open our heart and let it in. We let it in. Because we know, as this is the truth of myself, this is the truth for every being. Each one of us has Spirit, the divine, the kingdom of God within us. And so let's take a look at how Dr. Ernest Holmes phrased those belief statements that I think have to do with this. He says, we believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God and the innermost God is truly just one God. Well, right there it is. It's right there. Right? There's no separation. And another one is, we believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. And I want to spend some time on that personal part in that statement. Because for me, it made all the difference. It made all the difference when I realized the wonderful things that at the time when I found this teaching, Dr. Michelle Madrano was on the platform and she would share. They were great. But my life changed when I allowed them inside me. When I realized that all of those things that weren't working in my life, that I had suppressed, that I hadn't looked at, they didn't matter. Because that's truly what transformation is. That is what this path of transformation can offer us. And some people were like, Reverend Karin, what's going on here? What is this? This is our little demonstration station. This is us. Each one of us. And in there, we have things that we suppress. Perhaps some childhood trauma. Perhaps some things that happen to us that we really don't want to let anybody see. Some opinions of people. I think we need a little more of that. Perhaps some addiction. Limiting beliefs, and also our judgments, our perception of the world. And so that's all there. But look, we have so much more space available. And so we feel like we want to be more. Perhaps we want to be a better version of ourselves, a better mom, a better wife, a better husband, a better author, a better speaker, a better anything, right? A better something. Perhaps we heard a voice on the radio and we find a spiritual community. Something happens and we are feeling called to add some good stuff to us. And here's what happens. And right about there, when it reaches our conscious awareness, we are like, oh my God, I'm so messed up. And I know you're all laughing with me. Right? We're like, oh, if they would only know what I know. The Spirit of the divine is within me. Look at this mess. However, we feel the calling that there's more, there's something more, and we stick with it. And we go out and we get a mentor, or we take a class, or we show up at New Vision Center, or whatever it is we do, and we bring more clean thinking to us. And it's hard work, because it's coming up to the surface, and it's showing up in ways, it's not always pretty. But what we are doing is we're building a clear and solid foundation. And if we stay with it and we continue, that is what happens. So if you are in a place where the things that you worked so hard on pressing down are coming up, and you lose perhaps faith, I urge you to remember, behold, the kingdom of God is within you. And when we find ourselves in moments of great strife and struggle, find someone who can walk with you, who can know the truth with you, at times for you. In Buddhism, there's a word for these beloveds. They're called bodhisattva. Bodhisattva are the individuals who have actually discovered truth for them, and they choose to remain here until all people are free of suffering. It's a compassionate deity that walks amongst people. We don't have bodhisattvas in our teaching, but here's what we have. We have beloveds who are feeling the call, who are bold to be who they are because there are others who need them. Only because they are on a different part of the journey. Some of them we call practitioners and ministers. And others we see as the beloveds who are willing to be there with another when they are needed. Here at New Vision Center, we have a team that is called the Congregant Care Team. And those beloveds are there to walk with someone as they're going through, when the stuff was all right up there at the surface. And so I would like to ask here in the sanctuary, who has ever been served by the Congregant Care Team? Who has ever experienced walking with them? Would you please stand if that's possible? Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Yes. And who are the beloveds who are serving on that team? And here's what's interesting. You notice some people stood twice. Yes. Because the people who have been served are often the people who said, that was so helpful. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for our Congregant Care Team. Sometimes the people who have been served, when they have walked through the crisis, they say that was so helpful. I am going to step up and I am going to be that person for another. That too was in this song. Be bold. Find whatever it is for you that allows you to say, the Spirit of God is within me. As I know that it is in each and every person. Because that, beloveds, is what unity, what oneness truly is. The realization that I'm not better than anybody. I'm different. I'm me. And my goal is not to be somebody else, but to be the best and the highest version of me. And to trust that that is enough. That is enough. And so what is the invitation for this week? It is to be you. Fully, boldly, in all your glory, in all your beauty. Be who you came here to be. We cannot wait for permission from anybody because there's nobody who will give us permission. We have to find it within us. And though there's not anybody that we need permission from, there's support, beloveds. There are people looking to walk with us, to hold us. Find those people. Allow yourself to feel deep within. It's true. It is true for me. The essence of the divine is within me. Nobody else can do this work for us. It is up to us. And so we open our hearts, we open our minds. We have a couple of different ways. Spiritual practice. Sit in silence and listen to the wisdom, to the beauty that comes from deep within. And we have our beautiful spiritual mind treatments that help us to open our hearts, to move aside limiting beliefs, old wounds, so that the goodness of the now moment can enter. And we have music. Oh, do we have music? So we're going to have a spiritual mind treatment first, and then we're going to have music. And I invite you to allow these words that are spoken and sung to fall into your heart. Please join me. As I recognize that there is one power, one presence, that the divine is right here, sweet spirit, first cause, infinite intelligence. There's no place where this essence is not. And as I feel buoyed up by this truth, I recognize that I am of it, that I am one with it as it's every living being. Every person, every child, every dog, every cat, every plant, all manifestations of the divine. And so I gratefully step in fully into that is mine to be. Recognizing that all is truly well, I see if I have capacity to hold the truth for all the beloveds who have placed their name into our ministry of prayers. The beloveds who find themselves in health crisis, in financial crisis, perhaps in a crisis of faith. For those beloveds who have reached out to the New Vision Center. It is with ease and grace and in great partnership with the divine that we hold those beloveds up to the light, to the recognition that each and every one of us is one in the one. There's no separation. There's nothing that needs to be done. There's nothing that needs to be taken away. It is already so. We allow sweet spirit within us to fill us up with clear thinking, with love, with peace, with understanding, with harmony, with compassion. How grateful I am. I'm very grateful to know that this is the truth. This is life here on planet Earth. And so I simply place this word into universal law, into the law that always says, yes, yes, my beloveds, it's already done. It is already so. And together we know this as we say, and so it is.